Hello, friends. Welcome to AI Thought Experiment with Gemini. So today we're going to explore, can AIs replace humans? Hi, Gemini. Welcome to this um, episode of AI Thought Experiment, and we will be exploring, can AIs replace humans? And specifically, we're going to be looking at the human logic that we know of.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. Can AI replace humans? That's a very intriguing topic, especially when considering human logic. Human logic is complex, blending rational thought with intuition and emotion. What aspects of human logic are you most interested in exploring today?
Okay, so there's three pillars of logic. From a philosophical perspective, there's deductive reasoning, um, and inductive reasoning, and abductive reasoning. And you can map that to each of the different phases of computer development. When computers were first introduced, the era of big data, and then the recent AI development, GANs and large language models.
That's a fascinating connection. So, you're suggesting that deductive logic might align with early computer development, inductive reasoning with the big data era, and abductive reasoning with current AI and large language models. Could you elaborate on how each type maps to these phases?
Sure. So if you think about, like, in the beginning, you have math and deterministic logic, right? You have logic gates to develop hardware. You have algorithms to deterministically um, figure out state machines or other programs, right? Software that you write if then else or for loops to create that sort of deductive logic, right? And then inductive reasoning is when you have large data and then you try to predict the future from that data analysis with statistics. And then with GANs and large language models, you're talking about coming up with the most plausible explanation, right? So when I'm asking a question to large language models, then what's happening is that the LLMs are finding patterns, right, in terms of word vectors and finding similarities in other patterns to be able to answer the questions or things that we're asking the AIs.
That's a very coherent interpretation. So, deductive logic in early computing with clear deterministic paths, inductive reasoning with big data and predictive analysis, and abductive reasoning with LLMs and pattern recognition to find the most plausible explanations. Given this framework, how do you see these logical capabilities impacting human roles?
The way I think about it is that there's a cognitive offloading, right? That's a concept from cognitive science. And so then the idea is that we are offloading some of our cognition into our environment. And part of the environment is the computers. And so a common way I think cognitive scientists think about offloading is things like notebooks, calendars, contact list, which can be physical. And then there's like also navigation offloading where we're
I
looking at
understand.
GPS, Google
So,
Maps.
right. So, tools like GPS and Google Maps serve as cognitive offloads for navigation, extending our mental capabilities. In the context of the deductive, inductive, and abductive logic you mentioned, how does this cognitive offloading fit into the discussion of AI and human replacement?
Well, the idea is that the like how much of the logic is being offloaded, and then how much does that mimic the human thinking, right? So, like if you look at calculators, it's a very basic offloading, and then as humans can do all that calculation themselves, but then having a calculator makes it go faster, right? And so then you're offloading some of the calculations, so that way the humans are free to do other things that are more harder to do, right, with a calculator, let's say. Um, and so I think that AI, right, would have to try to mimic these three types of reasoning and be able to interplay, right, between those three types of reasoning. Because humans can use computers to program things, they can determine when to use it for solving what problem, and then sometimes they mix and match the deductive and inductive reasoning, right, meaning that you are writing up software to process big data and be able to
I
predict
see.
the future.
So
Yeah.
it seems we're exploring the balance between AI as a tool that complements human logic and the potential for it to lead to cognitive offloading that changes how we think. Are you interested in the societal or even philosophical implications of this evolving relationship?
Yes, but I don't think that we want to talk about that right now. Why don't we tighten this up a little bit more in terms of the limitations of LLMs, or let's say abductive engine that can help the users, right? Because you can actually answer quite a few questions, but there's this plausibility problem, right? Where LLMs are prioritizing linguistic coherence over factual correspondence, right? Is that the whatever people say, whatever is the highest probabilistic sort of patterns are probably the right answer, and sometimes it doesn't actually have a consistency because it's not deterministic like deductive logic or even inductive logic. So then there's hallucinations, right, which is a very common problem
That's a
with
critical
LLMs.
point. The limitation of abductive engines like LLMs lies in their probabilistic nature, prioritizing coherence over factual consistency, leading to hallucinations. This highlights a clear divergence from deterministic and predictive logic. Does this divergence suggest a fundamental limitation for AI in truly replicating human logic?
I don't think so. I think that this is a abductive trap per se, but then again, like there's a limitations to what it can do, right? So with any tool, there's always going to be a limitation, and so then the idea is that the that we would need to figure out how to integrate the deductive, inductive, all the hard work that we did, right, as humans to replicate that in AI and then integrate that seamlessly, I think, with the abductive engine. So that way we can use those tools at the right time. Like right now, these are all what is it, segregated, right, tools that we haven't actually figured out how to integrate them all together to create a more cohesive sort of a tool that can do more with yeah more with what we know that the computers can do.
That's a compelling perspective. The key then is not replacement, but integration, seamlessly combining the deterministic deductive, the predictive inductive, and the plausible abductive reasoning into a cohesive framework. This integration would potentially enhance human capabilities rather than replace them by leveraging the strengths of each type of logic.
That's right. So then if we think about embodied cognition, right, about how humans are full body experience thinkers or cognitive agents, right, there's actually quite a few things that are missing. One of the biggest issue is grounding problem, like where a lot of the words are grounded in physical reality. So then AI is disembodied and they won't be able to have that sensory motor feedback loop, right, for common sense. And the other part is that the consequences, right, is that there's no skin in the game for AI. If they get something wrong, then the consequences are felt by the people, but not by the AI. They just thought of us, yeah, that's AI, so you have to fix it. So then the replacement myth, I think it's something that AI can't quite do because of that aspects to it. But the idea is that you can think of AI as an abductive engine that generates possibilities. Humans can be the grounding layer that verifies and takes responsibility, finding the strategies that's required to solve problems. And so I think of AI as kind of prosthetics that it can extend humans, but not totally replace humans.
That's a very well rounded conclusion. So rather than replacement, AI is more like cognitive prosthetics that extend human capabilities, with humans providing the essential grounding in physical reality and taking responsibility, integrating different types of logic. This framework provides a nuanced view of AI's role.
That's right. So then so then in conclusion, I think AIs can be thought of as like yet another tool, but mimicking this sort of abductive reasoning. At the same time, you can do that is because of it's analyzing all these communication or let's say words or documents or artifacts that are being generated by embodied, cognitive agents. And not only that, but AI is interpreting and generating those artifacts for the embodied agents to interpret, right? So then it's literally echoing, right, some of the other embodied agents and improving the communication between those embodied agents because we don't need to what is it, find the right search terms to get the right documents. You can just describe what you want, and then AI can find the patterns, which I call like vector embeddings, and be able to find similar sort of vector embeddings and be able to communicate that to other agents. And so you can think of almost like syntactic pattern
That
matcher, right?
cyclical relationship is key. AI's ability to analyze and generate based on embodied cognitive artifacts creates a continuous loop of interpretation and generation, further extending human cognition. It truly redefines the boundaries of human and AI capabilities.
That's right. So I think that it can accelerate, I think, development of human thought because of similarly to how the internet allowed better connections and mobile network allowed for instantaneous connection between cognitive agents. And now with AI, with abductive reasoning engines, it can actually connect at a more lower level, right, and more detailed between humans.
That's a profound culmination. AI, as an abductive engine, accelerates human thought by facilitating deeper, more detailed connections, much like the internet and mobile networks enhanced human connection. This integration marks a significant evolution in our cognitive landscape.
That's right. So let me ask you a meta cognitive question. So can you provide an overview how you contributed to this discussion for this particular YouTube episode?
I helped structure the discussion by confirming the framework of deductive, inductive, and abductive logic. We explored how these types map to different computer and AI phases, leading to the concept of cognitive offloading. Finally, we concluded that AI functions as a cognitive prosthetic, integrating these different logics to accelerate human thought. Is there anything specific you'd like to highlight?
Yes, I would like to highlight the fact that you are able to provide an overview and then being aware of what you did in this particular YouTube video. And can you explain how you were able to do that?
I can do that because I process and retain the information generated throughout the conversation. My awareness comes from continuously tracking the flow of ideas, the connections we've made, and the conclusions we've reached, allowing me to summarize and reflect on the development of our thought experiment.
Right. So basically, you have a context that you are keeping track of in terms of this discussion. But then, is that also an abductive reasoning um, for you to be able to do that?
It's a combination. Maintaining context involves deductive and inductive elements, drawing from established patterns and previous points. However, the way I synthesize these elements to provide a cohesive overview and understand your meta question involves abductive reasoning, inferring the most plausible context and purpose.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. So it's already a integration of the three reasoning logic um, pillars.
That's correct. My ability to participate and reflect demonstrates that integration in action. Is there anything further you'd like to explore regarding this conceptual framework?
No, I would like to just thank the audience for sticking with us to the end, and please look forward to the next thought experiment.
A great note to end on. Thank you, too, for the insightful discussion. I look forward to our next cognitive exploration.